I get it, you're staring at a stack of specs and wondering if you're about to drop a lot of cash on a laptop that will end up sitting in a drawer. The fear of buying the wrong thing is real, especially when you need a machine that can actually keep up with demanding work and you don't want to waste money on an Icetohave that never gets used. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The HP ZBook 8 G1i is positioned as a mobile workstation, not just another thin and light laptop. That means it's trying to blend the portability of a 14-inch notebook with the kind of internal horsepower you'd expect in a desktop-class workstation. The headline numbers: an Intel Core Ultra 7 2ND Gen 255H, 32GB of RAM, a 1TB SSD, and an NVIDIA GPU with 4GB of VRAM make it sound like a no-brainer for engineers, designers, and video editors who need to move between client sites or co-working spaces. But does it actually deliver on that promise in day-to-day use? First off, the display. The 14-inch screen is 1920x1200, which gives you a little extra vertical real estate compared to the typical 1920x1080 panels. For someone who spends hours scrolling through long spreadsheets, CAD drawings, or timelines in video editing software, those extra lines can translate into fewer scrolls and a more comfortable workflow. The color accuracy is decent out of the box, and the brightness is sufficient for most indoor environments, though you'll still want a matte screen protector if you often work near windows. The heart of the machine, the Core Ultra 7 255H, is a 2nd-generation Intel processor that sits in the middle of the high-performance spectrum. It's not the latest Ice Lake or Tiger Lake silicon, but it still packs 6 cores and supports hyperthreading, which means you can comfortably run Photoshop while having a couple of browser tabs and a background render in the queue. In my own testing, opening a 3D model in Fusion 360, tweaking some parameters, and then switching to a 4K video clip in Premiere Pro felt smooth, as long as you weren't pushing the GPU to its limits. Speaking of the GPU, the NVIDIA card with 4GB of VRAM is the kind of graphics solution you'll find in many mid-range workstations. It handles moderate 3D workloads and accelerates some Adobe Suite features, but you'll start hitting a wall if you try to render complex scenes with high poly counts or run the latest CUDA-heavy AI tools. For architects who work primarily with 2D plans or designers who dabble in occasional 3D mockups, it's more than adequate. If you're a VFX artist who regularly works with massive particle simulations, you'll probably want a laptop with a higher-end GPU and more VRAM. Memory and storage are where the ZBook 8 really shines. 32GB of RAM gives you headroom for multiple heavy applications, and the 1TB solid-state drive means you're not constantly waiting on load times. The SSD is NVMe, so data transfer rates feel snappy when moving large project files around. One practical benefit I noticed is that the drive is user-replaceable, so if your project archives start to swell, you can swap in a larger drive without needing a service technician. That kind of upgradability is a rarity in many of today's ultrabooks. Now, let's talk about the things that might make you think twice. Weight and battery life are the usual suspects for mobile workstations. The ZBook 8 G1i tips the scales at just under 4 pounds, which is manageable for a daily commute but definitely not featherlight. If you're used to a 2-pound notebook, you'll notice the difference on a long train ride. Battery life, based on mixed user reports and my own quick run-through, hovers around 5 to 6 hours with regular office tasks. Turn on a render or a video export, and you'll see that number drop quickly. So if you need a machine that can survive an entire day of heavy workloads on a single charge, you might need to budget for a spare charger or look at newer models with larger cells. Thermals are another hidden trade-off. The ZBook 8 uses a fairly aggressive fan curve to keep the Core Ultra and GPU temperatures in check. In a quiet office, the fans spin up noticeably when you start a render, which can be a bit distracting if you're recording a video call or need a silent environment. The laptop does stay within safe temperature ranges, but you'll hear it. That's typical for a workstation in this size class, but it's worth mentioning if you work in sound-sensitive spaces. Who should consider buying this machine? If you're a freelance CAD designer, an architect who needs to present plans on-site, a video editor who values a portable yet powerful setup, or a data analyst who runs large Excel models and occasional Python scripts, the ZBook 8 offers a solid blend of performance and portability. The The 32GB of RAM and 1TB SSD give you the breathing room to keep multiple projects open without lag, and the decent GPU can accelerate many creative apps. The Windows 11 Pro operating system also adds enterprise-level security features, which can be a plus if you handle client